Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Afternoon, well, Sunset Safari, I should say. My name is Ali, and on camera with me today is Senzo. And as you all know, this is a live and interactive show, so we love hearing from you. If you've got any questions or comments, send them through using either the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter, or you're more than welcome to use our YouTube chat. Now, it is a bit of a funny afternoon, and things seem to be making the Mara and Djuma quite similar. We're both in weather that we don't quite understand what's happening, although I do know that it's quite raining in the Mara today, and we are still puzzled as to if it's going to rain, if it's not going to rain. It is very humid this afternoon, but apparently only 41%, but we feel that we want to die. Oh, there's a smiley face up there amongst the clouds. Now, we started our wonderful safari just looking at some of the mighty creatures that have been some of the more important characters of a very long migration series. And then, of course, it's the mighty wildebeest all the way over there. Now, unlike their cousins in the Masai Mara or wildebeest here in South Africa, all the way from the greater Kruger National Park, are quite spoiled in the sense that they don't really have to migrate as much as the ones in Kenya do, because they have more water sources readily available to them. And so, although they might get displaced from one area to the other, they don't really have to walk as far or face probably as many crocodiles as the ones in the Mara do. So, having said that though, our beautiful wildebeest here also have to face many challenges, including all of the beautiful Birmingham boys and the different pride of lions that live around this area, so their survival is also, or can also be, very, very tough. Now, I think they're not really making a point of it right now because they're all pretty relaxed, very happy underneath the shadow. Like I said, the weather is quite funny because there's a very nice breeze going around and it's quite overcast. However, the temperature is still 31 and 87, so it's still pretty daunting to start moving around, and there's almost that feel of laziness up in the air that the animals are not quite happy to go move around. So I'm hoping actually that this will be a good afternoon to perhaps find some bigger gray things. Perhaps our beautiful elephants will be around, hopefully somewhere around some of the water holes. Now, I think all the way over there we are looking at a beautiful pair of steenbok. Very, very rare sighting to actually see two of them together, and they have been keeping us company around here. So if you watched this show this morning or yesterday afternoon, these are the guys that the beautiful female leopard Shadow was actually feeding upon not too far from here. But it is good to see that at least this pair that lives in quarantine and that we see pretty much every day is still around. Now, as you can see, this particular area is very dry. It's very easy to see far away in the distance, so that's probably helping us in seeing these two shy creatures that most times when they see us, they just pretty much either freeze and then they start running and bolt away from us. But it seems like now maybe the fight for food and looking for any shrubs or fruit or anything that might be in the ground is the winning aim of these two beautiful steenbok. Now, there's a bit of glare, but I would assume it's a male and a female. Yes, it's a male and a female. So these beautiful creatures form pairs that last a lifetime. So they will only go and search for another mate once their mate has died, which is very romantic of them, if I must say. Very beautiful. I think maybe let's try and see, seeing they're so relaxed, I'm gonna head out to the road a little bit more and let's see if they'll allow us to get a little bit closer, because it'd be quite nice to get a screenshot or a photograph of two steenbok together. Now, my hopes are not too high because, like I said, they tend to be quite skittish creatures, and it is quite windy around here. I'm sure you guys can hear some of the wind that's howling into our face, but it actually makes it just feel a lot better. It feels there's already this African summer feel up in the air. It's very humid, it's very hot, the weather doesn't really know what's gonna happen. We don't know what's gonna happen because I was pretty sure that I was gonna get rained upon this afternoon, but I'm not sure. No, they left. Come back, steenbok, stay. So our two little friends have run around and pretty much have run away from us. I was hoping, seeing that they could see us already, that maybe they were going to be pretty chilled, but at least from a distance, they're both there. Hello, so we've got the male on the right-hand side with the horns, and the ones on the left, that's the female. Easy, you're just commenting on how much you love the little steenbok. I love them too. They're such funny little creatures, and they're very, very pretty. But it's quite interesting, like I said, normally this is the only time of the year where it's easy to spot them just because it's so nice and open. There isn't as much grass for them to hide in. And then, well, of course, lucky for us, and we can get some nice viewings of them. Because during the summertime, you can imagine everything is a lot greener, there's a lot more food and water everywhere, and there are a lot more bushes, so it's very easy for them to hide behind all of these bushes. Now, it almost seems like the male has got a bit of a limp. Are you walking funny? And although they're tiny little creatures, they're still very, very feisty. There was a case, funny, and I apologize in advance for the sad story. The Wildlife Rehabilitation Center where I used to work at, they used to have two steenbok, and then obviously as the mating season came, the male became very possessive over the female, and there was some sort of unfortunate visitor that stumbled upon them, and I think he tried to chase or grab the steenbok. I'm not too sure of the little details of the story, but apparently the steenbok jumped at it, and then with its horns got the femoral artery straight away of this poor person, so he had to be rushed to the hospital and nearly died out of blood loss. It was quite terrible. Can you imagine, from such a little sweet looking creature? I suppose that if you hang around in areas where there are lions and leopards, even if you're small, you've got to be very, very tough. Isn't that right? Almost looks like an enchanted forest, this view. Beautiful little ones. Let's see, let's carry on. Ali, you're wondering if a leopard can smell, if a steenbok can smell a leopard on a windy day like today. Yes and no. So they can smell them, like that's why the predators learn to hunt against the wind, so that the wind takes their smell away. And it's actually, I would say, probably one of the toughest things for them to learn, either lions or leopards, because they've got to use the sun, but also the wind, because if there's a bit of a whiff of leopard popcorny smell going in the direction of the steenbok, they will know to be alert straight away. So they've got to play with all the elements in order to be able to survive and successfully kill their prey. But on days like today, when the wind starts swirling, you'll see that the animals don't like it, and part of the reason is because the wind keeps changing the direction from where the smells come from. So it makes it a little bit confusing. Also, you can't hear all that well if the wind is howling. So it just makes all of the prey species a little bit more nervous. But I think the wind has died down a little bit. It's still up and down, so we'll see. I reckon we might have an interesting afternoon out here. So who knows? Maybe we will be able to smell a leopard. That would be quite interesting if we could just go like, okay, Hosanna this way, or Shadow this way, or Tundi and Tamba this way. Now, where should we go, Senzo? The place is ours. I think we're gonna head on to Treehouse Dam, just so that we get our little admin done, because we need to take some photos of the dam shrinking. And I should say, Treehouse Dam was probably the place to be yesterday, wasn't it? Everything was happening around there, or at least everything was in its vicinity, and it's potentially a good area to start looking for elephants, or start looking for maybe Hosanna, or who knows, who else would be down there. It would be quite nice to go and have a look. And like I said, I've only been back for a little bit, so there are so many more places of Djuma that I would like to go and explore. And of course, now that spring is almost here, although I think we need a little bit more rain for many more things to start flowering, we can also start having a look at the different things or the different flowers and leaves and everything else that's been coming around in the last few weeks, which I'm sure is going to be very beautiful. I don't know, apparently there's an 80% chance of rain at 6 o'clock this evening, but we'll see if that's actually right, because I tend to distrust a bit the Weather Channel, because they seem to be ever changing. Sorry, Megan, can you repeat that question? The wind wasn't helping me. Take care. If I got this correctly, you're wondering if the ground gets a lot harder in this particular time of the year, and if that can be correlated to then more injuries on the animals on their legs. Well, the ground does get harder because everything that's nice and moist, especially around areas where there's clay soil, perhaps not as much here on a sandy soil, obviously gets compacted because all of the moisture comes out of it. So I would say the problematic times, especially for injuries, for example, if animals getting stuck in the mud or hurting one of their legs trying to get in and out of water sources, is probably either at the end of the rainy season as it's starting to change into the dry season, and then at the beginning of the rainy season when it starts swapping. But I think even now we might still need quite a bit of rain before some of the natural mud wallows and everything starts filling up, or at least hold some water, because everything's still quite dry. So where are you alarming? There's a squirrel. There's a squirrel up here. That's alarming. What are you doing? Alright, seems like there is a bit of a upset squirrel all the way up on this, what are you, false marula? And I wonder what it's looking at. So, definitely quite upset. We are going to stay around here and carry on looking to see if perhaps we can find whatever it is looking at, but I'm going to send you across to the Mara and find out how much it's raining up there.
Hello everyone, my name is Scott Dyson and it is a great pleasure to be back on board with all of you guys. I've certainly missed being out on safari. I'm teamed up with Manu this afternoon. James is also headed out, and as you can see, we've kind of bunkered down a little bit. We've put down our tent flaps. It is raining, and not too bad for now. And as long as we position the vehicle okay, it doesn't get in. So we thought we would just show you a view of the scenery. There's lots of animals in front of us, and we're very fortunate that one of them is a secretary bird heading straight towards us. And what a good start it is to the safari, at least for myself and Manu. I'm told you've also spent some time with Ali so far down in South Africa. Here we are in the Masai Mara in Kenya, quite different down south, where I've actually just spent the last 11 days on holiday. So it's great to be back in the saddle after taking a break. Like I said, I've certainly missed being out on safari with all of you guys in this magical, magical wilderness. There's an Ethiopia and an impala in the background. Some elephants you can see dotted off there on the top left of your screen. Absolutely marvelous. There's quite a lot of thunder around, and the clouds were looking quite dark and gloomy to the north of us, and that is where the rainy weather ordinarily comes from. So let's hope it doesn't bog us down for too much of the afternoon. Like I said, James is also out. He's also freshly back from leave, and he's just covered up. His vehicle hasn't had the modifications that mine has had just yet, so it's not as easy for him to deploy the rain covers, but we are making some wonderful improvements to the vehicles as we go. It's one of the things that I really love about the Safari Live operation. We often have to kind of shoot from the hip and engineer things ourselves here as we go along and as we learn about what works and what doesn't. Big thanks to all of you who have welcomed me back. So I'm, like I said, very happy to be back with all of you guys on safari. Let's take a deeper look into the kind of further lying areas and see what we can spot from here. And immediately, zebra and giraffe. And again, it's just one of the joys of the Masai Mara. And I guess one of the major differences to this area compared to the Sabi Sands is that it is very open here, which does make our lives a lot easier in some cases. In other cases, I guess it's detrimental. This habitat is not ideal for bushwalks like it is down south. So it's wonderful that we do have these two different locations. And the more of you guys that join in on these safaris, the more places we'll be able to take you to. So that is something to bear in mind. Keep letting your friends know about the Safari Live team. We love to welcome on new people as often as we possibly can. Okay, well, it seems like the rain has kind of stopped for now, so we are going to continue moving. My plan is to drive along the Mara River and see what we can find along there. James is going to drive the escarpment road, so we're going to be working two different areas. And while we head off in search of whatever interesting animals we can find, we're going to be sending you back down south to Ali, who's heading to one of my favorite watering holes down at Djuma, the tree house. dam. So enjoy and see you later.
We are on our way down there, but we have managed to find a few water buck. Now, hopefully this one won't move because it's looking quite beautiful, this pool over here, just right next to the marula tree. Well, hello, boy. Now, they're all in total, I would say maybe about 10 of them that are spread out all around here. Some of them are quite hard to see because they're a bit further away or hiding behind some fallen over branches, but we are looking at the beautiful water buck. 2 of them actually that have decided now to grace us with their presence, and we can clearly tell that this one is the younger one amongst the 2 because it's got much shorter horns than this one over here, or well, this one over here to the left, I should say. Now, I do think that judging by the size of the horns around, this is one of the oldest one, also because its horns seem to be going further apart from one another. So when they're still young, the horns are somewhat still pointing towards one another, and the same with impala. The older they get, then the horns tend to go further away from each other. Very beautiful. Maury, you're saying that you love their little heart-shaped nose. Yes, I do too. I think it's one of those very sweet things about water buck. It's a perfectly shaped, and funny enough, like I always think of water buck in 2 terms. Obviously there's a beautiful heart-shaped nose that they've got, but there's something very aesthetically pleasing as well about their tracks. So if I do manage to find any tracks around here, or we've got Tristan's tracking book. We'll show you some of their tracks because it's almost like an inverted heart as well. So it's very, very beautiful. Now let me try and find it in the book. Hopefully I haven't forgotten how to spell water buck. That would be a disaster. Hemsbok. No, we're not looking for a hemsbok. Sable. Well, there we go. Now, have managed to find them with all of Tristan's little details and notes in here, but this is probably one of the coolest books around. But you see, the tracks are also very pretty. The track for a water buck. Obviously this is not the real size track, but you get the idea. So to me, it's actually, if we invert them, so I'm just going to invert the book, to me it almost looks like a pretty heart as well. So perhaps not as pretty as the one in the nose, but you can tell it's a water buck by looking at it. And it's probably one of the rounder tracks that we get out here in the bush, and very, very pretty, very distinctive. It's always easy to tell that it's been a water buck just because this part here, the lobes, this area here is very sharp, and then obviously very sharp here where the toes are. Now it seems like our beautiful boys are heading onto the light. Maybe they have also come from Treehouse Dam themselves. I wouldn't put it past them because they are one of the few creatures around here that has to drink daily. So I'm sure they've gone to Treehouse Dam and now they've carried on feeding all the way, probably back to quarantine. Chat Noir, you're wondering which antelope has got the longest horns. Well, in my experience, I would say probably the kudu. The kudu have got very beautiful spiral twisting horns, and I think the record is about 1.2 meters for a kudu horn, if I am not mistaken, but they get very, very long. So imagine a kudu's horn being almost as big as me. I would put my money on them in terms of length. There are some of the water buck horns are also quite impressive, very long, but I think probably if we were to measure from point A to B, the kudu's ones would be slightly longer. So hopefully we'll be able to find a kudu at some point this afternoon as well, so we'll be able to have or draw some sort of comparison between the two. I think the ones that we were looking at for these boys that were here, they're still young, so they can get still a lot bigger than what we saw, but at least it's a beginning. Bye-bye, water buck. Now let's see what else we can find around here. So what's been good or bad, I suppose, is some of the roads have been maintained today, so they've dragged tires on them, and everything's looking quite pristine and beautiful. So if anything has walked over the road in the past few hours, we'll be able to tell clearly. But so far, no luck. But I shall not lose hope. As soon as we get to Treehouse Dam, we shall carry on seeing. And it's beautiful because it's almost like a brand new canvas. And that's why I think, funny enough, Tristan and I were deciding who was going to go and drive this morning, and it starts as those typical, so I'm like, no, well, if you want to, I can go. It's like, no, but it's fine, I'll go. And it's just pretty much because when you go trekking in the mornings, it's beautiful, or when you go out in the mornings, because everything's clean, and they are like, it's almost like reading a newspaper, and you see all the stories of who's been around and who's been walking where and what's been happening. So it was, you know, eventually he won because he pulled like, no, I'm being a gentleman card on me. So what do you say to that? But oh well, I think the universe has repaid me now with brand new roads almost. Now let's see. We are close to the drainage line to where Hosanna apparently ran to yesterday. So I wouldn't be surprised if he were down here somewhere as well, because he did go to Treehouse Dam yesterday for a drink, and that's what Herbie mentioned, that it was him, because we didn't manage to get a look at it, and I didn't really want to disturb or go too much into the area with a spotlight or lights, considering that there were lions around. So also just trying to give all the predators a fair chance. Farida, you're wondering if we ever find horns while out in safari, and do we ever take them? Well, we do find horns every now and again. Oh, this is quite interesting. I'll explain it just now. We do find horns every now and again, especially on sides of a kill, because the horns are just made out of keratin, so not really many animals will eat them, not even hyenas. They'll mostly just go for the calcium. But I think the general principle applies for every national park is whatever you find in the bush, you leave in the bush, because you don't want to take them, because everything that gets broken down, all those nutrients, all that nitrogen that is present in those animals will go back into the soil and then help with the regrowth of new plants and different things. Also, a little bit more in terms of the antelope species in this particular area, in particular in the winter time, the spores of anthrax can survive for a very long period of time, so you don't want to go around handling things that you don't know how they've died, if they potentially have any sort of disease. So that's why everyone's always very cautious of taking things from an natural area to another one, because you might have the best intentions, but you can pretty much end up causing, you know, a biological disaster almost. Right, there's something here on the floor that I would assume was eaten by elephants, but I just want to show it to you guys because it's quite interesting. Ooh, I'm tangled up. Come on. Look at all this dust. Oh, this beautiful thing over here, let me just plug myself back in. Now, it is quite a funny thing. Let me just put it here. And you see it's very much layered. So it's a plant that doesn't grow all that much. It's a plant that tends to be quite dry, and you see all the tiny little layers around here. So normally this is not the position that it grows like this, and you'll find a colony of a lot of them all together. So this is quite a small one. They'll get probably double the size of this one, and with very long beautiful leaves. Now this is called a baboon's tail because, well, if you look at it, it pretty much does look like a baboon's tail. Not too many things eat them around here. Elephants every now and again you will see them eating them, but the local communities use it because it's perfect. It's a perfect torch, because you see if you light it here from the top, it takes quite a while to start burning all the way down, all the layers down, so it can burn for quite a while, and then it's just perfect in case you need, you know, light to see during the nighttime. Now I've made Rusty all dirty. I'm sorry, Rusty. Perfect. So I'm gonna drop it here back to where it belongs, and we'll carry on our drive. But it was nice to see the baboon's tail, because they are around often in areas that are a bit more disturbed or growing on the sides of the road. It was quite funny to see this one all dead and out. So I'm sure somebody's been plucking it from its original point. Now I want to see if perhaps we can find the living one somewhere still attached to the ground, because I don't think this one came from too far away, but maybe the Ellies were just too thorough. Huh? I thought I was plugged in. Sorry, sensor. I think probably I didn't plug myself in properly. Now I'm all plugged in and back. James, you're wondering if there are any flowers that flower nocturnally in this area. Well, that's a very interesting question. I'm not 100% sure if there's one that just flowers during the night. I do know, however, that the flowers of the sausage trees, they put out their scent at night. So their nectar... Ooh, something flew into my eye. The nectar and their scent and their pollen, just most of it happens during the nighttime because they actually get pollinated not by insects but by fruit bats that come outside during the night. So that's the only one that I would say probably doesn't flower at night, because you'll still see it beautifully open during the day, but it will serve its full purpose during the nighttime. It will attract all of its possible pollinators. Oh, actually an interesting question. I should probably go and have a look around. I think we are going to come all the way down here. Maybe I should have gone the other way. I don't know why I'm going this way. Anyway. Oh look, we came this way because there are some baboon tails on the floor, or still attached to the soil that we can see right next to us, right there. So on our way to do our very short time lapse at Treehouse Dam, we have found the living baboon tails. Now I wouldn't be surprised if that one over there was actually, or the one that I was handling earlier on, came all the way from here, from this area, because it's the only spot where I've seen them. Can't really tell where they've been plucked out, but this is what a baboon's tail looks like in real life, or when it's still attached. So it grows like a very funny looking thing, and I'm not really aware of any medicinal uses for it. I would probably have to brush up on some of my knowledge on baboon's tail. Perhaps even I'll have some on my notes. Right, let's head down onto the dam so Sensor can do his magic. I'm sure everybody would love to see Sensor and say hello. But just watch out, Senzo, because this is a dam of leopards and lions. Pretty much anything. Maybe not of hippos as of yet. Woo! All cats, yes. All cats, hopefully dogs. Who knows? Kate, you're wondering if any animals eat baboon's tail. So if you see, by the way, if you see somebody running in front of the vehicle, it's Senzo, who's very happily going to say hello to everyone. Woo! Kate, I think the flowers of the baboon tails will be pollinated by a number of insects, so they'll feed off of it a little bit. But elephants eat baboon's tails. They're probably one of the few animals that I've seen eating baboon's tails, to be quite honest. And then every now and again I've seen also monkeys plucking the flowers and eating them, but other than that they pretty much tend to be left to their own devices. Not too many things eat them. Now if you're wondering what Sensu's doing, we are in the process of creating a story that's gonna come in the form of a time lapse, which I reckon is going to be quite interesting and just show us how the land and the scenery and the land and everything else has changed in the last few months. Because it is quite funny, you see it with your own eyes and then you leave and you come back and then it hits you and you're like, oh, well this is very different from what it used to be. All sorted. How's that? This is my kind of admin. Are you good? Yeah. Izzy, you're saying you love learning about the plants. Yay! I love plants. So it's a good thing that there are so many botany enthusiasts out there, because I'm sure we're going to be able to brush up together our knowledge on trees and especially of flowers, because I think some of my flower knowledge used to be really good at some point, and I think it's actually not that good at the moment. We're going to have to brush up when the flowers start coming out, but that's actually quite exciting. I love that kind of homework, when it's for pleasure more than you have to learn this, because then when it's forced, then just my mind refuses. Mr. K, you're wondering if I've eaten or if I would eat any plants out here. Well, only the ones I know, because there are certain plants that you don't really want to eat because they're poisonous and they can upset your stomach quite a bit if you don't know what they are. So if I cannot identify a certain plant, I will not eat them. But I know everyone's looking forward to the fruits of the marula tree, which is, it's this tree right here. So this is probably one of the most generous trees that we get out here in the bush. Pretty much everything is produced from either the tree or the fruit itself. I would definitely eat the fruit from this tree because it's very nice, and it's got that, like, it's sweet but it's still got that bit of acid flavored back to it. It's very nice, and there's jam and jelly and beer and all sorts of things made out of it. But you can just eat also the fruit raw, which is very, very nice. Then what else? Let me think. Jackalberries. The fruit of the jackalberry is also very nice. I've eaten that one before. And then, of course, the leaves of the buffalo thorn. It's almost like a very dried salad. They're not my favorites, but you can eat them if you're really hungry. I remember being very hungry on a particular occasion in training, and I was just like, well, fine, I'll just eat the buffalo thorn. I think somebody ate my food or something like that, and I wasn't too impressed with life. That was a very sad moment. But other than that, I'm trying to think of like the majority of the trees here produce fruit. Oh, the sour plum, but that's sour, so like that'll make your face go like, ooh. Aha. Lots of elephant tracks around here. They've all been squashed, so it's a little bit hard to see, but they are following the path, pretty much the same game path that the lions followed last night. So maybe let's head over to Twin Dams and see if there's anything around there that we might be interested in looking at. That would be quite nice. Maybe some ellies. Haven't seen ellies in quite a while. Mr. P, you're wondering if I would ever eat any of the animals out here. Well, I have, in the sense that often when you work at the lodges and you have, it's called a boma dinner, and it's a traditional bride dinner where you have around the fire, it's almost like a barbecue. Often they will offer some sort of venison meat, which is normally wildebeest or nyala or kudu. I think I've only had warthog once, but not from this area. So all of these animals, or this wild game meat, comes from farms outside the Sabi Sand, because obviously we cannot eat the ones here because we can't hunt them. So I've tried them then, and funny enough, it's also very common in South Africa to eat game meat. So every time you go to a butchery, the same way you will have beef or chicken, then you will have kudu or buffalo or something else and something else and something else. So I have eaten some of them before. They don't taste that strongly, and yeah, often you will have them at the lodges, and it is said that it's a much leaner meat than normal beef, and probably because of the way that they raise them, it's less hormones because it's not intensive raising of these animals. They have areas where they can roam freely and so on, so that it's yeah, less hormones, less processed, and so on and so on. So yeah, but I don't think I could eat any of my friends here in the reserve. We all work together, we see each other every day. Can you imagine going down the road and being like, hi, Kudu, I ate your sister yesterday? I don't think I could do that. No. But I must say, when I was doing my master's in conservation, there was a very big debate between like, should we be carnivores? Should we not eat meat? Should we become vegetarians? And so on, because of, of all of this conservation issues. So I think it's a debate that's going to be ongoing for a very long time, and I think that just as things are done with moderation, that's probably the best thing around. I have, however, after doing this course, and because I had a friend called Lucas that he was very radical in certain things, but he convinced me that I had to do my part in conservation and eat less red meat, and I said okay. So I have. And Tristan, being South African men that eat meat and make fire, he doesn't fully agree with me. But it's fine. I'm not afraid of him. I don't think that there's much that's been happening around here. So I will send you guys back across to the Mara, where I believe Scott has found something that's actually still looking for its dinner. And I wonder what it is and what friend they're gonna end up having for supper.
Well, I'm told you've been discussing edible plants with LA, and I can assure you that's not what these lions are looking for. She's taking what looks like a bit of a toilet break there, but they are looking very, very intently to the left of where they are now. There's another one you can see staring off in the distance, and I think they could be looking at a topi and its youngster. Some of you may have seen a lioness, possibly these same ones, trying to hunt that same topi this morning with Jamie. And there's also some zebra in the area and other general game. So there you can see she's pacing ahead quite intently. I'm guessing that these are 2 lionesses from the Angama pride, judging from their location, and also judging by the fact that there's a whole bunch of cubs that we're about to show you now, that because she's disappeared. We've still got the flaps down. Ooh, the other lioness is running to keep up with her. Let's just show everyone the cubs quickly while they're playing around. They're just nestled in those bushes there. There's a whole clump of them. I'm not too sure exactly how many, and they're having a whale of a time. It looks like they are making the most of the edible plants in the area. What are the chances of that happening? Okay, so we've still got our flaps down because it is still a little bit rainy, but it is kind of holding up, so I think we may try and put them up. Let's just try and get a visual of what exactly they are hunting, because they certainly are after something. What? Time will only tell, and I'm not fairly certain it's not going to take us long to get into a vantage point where we can actually see what it is they are after, and also how far away that prey is. So that's also another important thing to factor into the equation when the lions are hunting, especially regarding where we are going to position our vehicle. Now, interestingly, I can't see anything at first glance. But maybe their eyes are, well, they're definitely better than mine, not maybe. And I'm just going to stop here and have a quick scan. We're not going to be able to see the lions for the time being, but let's just have a scan ahead in this area and see if we can't work it out what it is. It's definitely not the large herd of elephant that we can see. Well, this is interesting because their body language was indicating like that they were intent on something quite close by. Yet, I'm not sure about you guys, but I can't see anything. Some zebra way off in the distance there. So maybe that's what they've spotted. Who knows, maybe they've heard something. Maybe that's what's caught their attention. Or maybe it is just those zebra. Either way, good prospects. Very, very good prospects. Even though the prey is far away, the lion are looking intently in their direction. They've stopped just off to the right of the vehicle. Possibly if I push this out, you may be able to see. No, no joy. But they are just over there. They're stationary for now, and because the prey is quite a long way off, I think this might be a good opportunity for us to lift the flaps up. And for us to do that, I'm not going to be very entertaining. So I'd suggest that we quickly send you off while there's still some time to prepare for the action that could unfold in the next few minutes. It could take a while. It could take a few minutes. Only time will tell. But certainly a wonderful, wonderful start to the afternoon. But we are going to need to send you off to another vehicle while let's just show everyone. We've got all these flaps down. We've been driving with the wind in our favor. So the rain's been blowing into all these flaps. And that's been allowing us to keep dry, but now that the rain stopped for the time being, and especially because these lions are looking quite intense on some possible prey, we are going to send you back down to LA in South Africa. See you later.
Woo! It's a bit of a bumpy road. We have decided to come down the Molowati just to see if we can find any tracks for any of our cat-looking friends, because none of them seem to be around here for now. So no tracks, no nothing. So I'm hoping either Shongile or Tandi, Tamba or Hasana would be somewhere around here. But I reckon Twin Dams and Treehouse Dam are probably the place to be. So we're gonna go around on this very beautiful road, which is probably one of my favorite parts of Djuma. I love old dried riverbeds, and there's almost like a feeling of magic to it, with everything growing on the sides and everything overhanging. And I can see there's a new tree that has fallen over. So it's always good to come around here and see what's been happening. Seems like the Ellies have been very naughty lately, and then they've been doing quite a bit of damage. I was a bit outraged to see that they pushed down a jackalberry tree, which is a beautiful species of tree that we get in this area, but that grows very, very slowly. And it was only about this big, and it's probably 20 rays. Our elephants here have made a pact with the gremlins, and there are a few gremlins that we might need to fight up in our search. But while we do that, I think my very good friend James has managed to find some elephants. So hopefully we'll be able to have a look at them.
dear, is she talking? We're live. Hello everybody, I didn't get any sound from my final control room there. It's not their fault, it's entirely mine. Hello, it's wonderful to be back in the Masai Mara, talking to you with the herd of elephants. An enormous storm overhead, here to welcome me back, so pleased to have an enormous storm welcoming me overhead. We've been in our tent for most of the afternoon. This is my shirt, became quite wet. There we are. Good. And, well, I'm sure everyone's told you this, but I shall tell you again. Hashtag Safari Live is how you get hold of us. It'll be wonderful to hear from you. And of course, you can talk to us on the chat streams of whatever platform you happen to be looking at us on, and we'll do our very best to answer any questions that we can. That is, of course, as and when I am able to hear the final control room. I'm not sure why I cannot. Anyway, that's just the way it goes. Craig will relay anything you have to say for the moment. Let's have a look at those elephants. I think we might just drift slowly down the road once we've had a last doer. Let's drift. Let's drift, shall we, Craig? We won't start the engine on account of that the engine is so very, very loud indeed. And it's, well, it's been quite dry, I'm told, over the last little while, but it seems now to be wet again now that I've arrived back. And poor old Craig, I didn't bring tea for him today. I thought that the rains had finished, and so he wouldn't need any tea. So it goes. We're going past some zebras, and it's fascinating, of course, to come back here and find out what it is that has changed since I have been gone. It was only 2 weeks, and not a huge amount of change has changed. It seems that the wildebeest are pretty much in the same place that they were when I left, and we still have quite a few zebra around here. Here's a very pretty little one over there. And I'm sure they are probably not that pleased that the zebra have left this area, because of course they are now the major targets for the Angama pride. I'm hearing nothing of that, Craig. If you're getting something, I can see that she's talking. Oh, the viewers are thrilled to have me back, are they? Well, that's wonderful. Thank you, I'm thrilled to be back. I'll just try and fix this. I'm not sure what's going on here. Anyway, you know, the vagaries of these earpieces, difficult to figure out exactly what it is that happens to them. Never mind, we'll fix them in due course. That very, very wet looking little foal you can see there, well, you can see it has definitely been raining in this area. It's not just that Craig and I like to be in a small confined canvas space together. It has genuinely been raining. Okay, let's nip a little bit further along the road and see if we can't have a nice look at those elephants. And then my plan was to head off down there over the escarpment and see if we couldn't find the sausage tree pride. But at the moment, I'm not sure we're going to get that far. We're certainly going to try. And with any luck, we will have... Oh, some very nice flapping noises coming out of the top. These roofs are being fixed, everybody, which is great news indeed, given that the fact that the Masai Mara now seems to receive more rainfall than your average hectare of Amazon rainforest. The elephants are disappearing down into that laga, so I think we're going to change tack slightly and go down this way, and then we'll make our way towards the escarpment. Right, marvellous. Okay, we're going to head across to Ali now in South Africa. Obviously, she has got something belonging to the genus Dragolaphus.
James, you've got to give it to him for always being super funny. Now, I think this kudu might have heard him, and maybe she's a bit offended of being called the genus blum 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 blum. So not too impressed, but we were talking about kudus earlier, so it's always good to show them so that you guys know what we were saying or what animal we were referring to, especially if you've just started watching. Now this is a female kudu, so clearly no horns on her, but she is looking quite intently in a certain direction, so I'm hoping she's gonna bark. That's normally an alarm call that they make, indicating that perhaps there's a little something here that I might want to have a look. And, well, not just me, everyone involved, because she is looking very steadily in that direction, very alarmed way. So let me just try on this binoculars. Maybe we'll be able to see something, although if she can't see it, I don't know how much hope there will be for us, because they have some very good eyesight. Cheryl, you're wondering if I would be able to drive in this old riverbed during the summertime. Well, if there's not too much water, because normally it's not a flowing river during the summertime, then yes. Although it does get a bit tricky sometimes when it's a bit too full, and detritus starts being taken from one place to the other. So you can try. Sometimes though, trying will get the best out of you. But yes, we can still drive them. There are, however, some roads on Djuma that if it rains too much, then we can't drive because of the soil consistency, that it's mostly a clay soil, a very sticky soil, then you'll probably just do a lot more damage to the road and to the environment by driving. So we just tend to avoid them. I think it's after either 10 or 20 millimeters of rain, just to make sure that we don't damage the roads, and then a lot of work has to be done to repair them. Now, I am puzzled, but clearly whatever it was that she saw is not too bad. There was a little steenbok running around earlier, so I wonder if perhaps that's what they were looking at and we're so worried about. Because, you know, steenbok, leopard collar, not too different perhaps from that height. And it seems like they've got a party of oxpeckers all the way on top of them, these two girls. Hello. Those tiny birds, well, not so tiny, but they look quite small compared to the kuru. Those are the red-billed oxpeckers. So their main job is to feed off the ticks that the kuru takes or carries around with her, and in exchange for being so nice and polite, she allows them to pretty much stay on top of her and give them a ride whenever they need to. Now, I think I want to get on top of that ridge over there and perhaps have a look at what they're looking at, because I'm quite puzzled about the two of them. But before we do that, we were discussing earlier plants that we eat, and of course I forgot one very important one, which is this one down here, since I don't know if you see the white flowers here to the right. Yeah, those ones. So this plant over here, with the just starting to flower, this is called the forest num num. So it is probably one of the funniest names around there, and you can see it's got those very sharp thorns on the side. It's almost like a trident. Very funny looking thing. And the fruit from this tree is actually very, very yummy, and often you will find it if you get a forest num close to a lodge, you'll never eat the fruit, because probably everyone will beat you to it, because it's very tasty, very yummy, very refreshing. It's tiny. It's almost like a little berry type of fruit. And when Tristan and I used to work at another one of the lodges up here in the northern Sabi, and there was one right next to reception, and I just remember trackers fighting for them. So it's like, no, you already had your share today, these are mine. But they're very, very tasty flowers. This one, not flowers, fruit, the one that this tree produces. Now, it's normally a shrub looking thing like this one, although it can get a little bit bigger. Let's see. Sorry, Kate, you're wondering if all of the kuru have the same stripes on them. Now, they do have the stripes, like they will have them on the side and on the top of their head, and the main function of those stripes is just to conceal or to break up the general body shape of the animal as they walk around. Okay, seems like there's been a new road created. Interesting. So their main function is just to break the body shape so that the animal can camouflage a little bit better. Because if you can imagine being a predator and seeing in black and white almost, then if you have these patterns of light color in between bushes, then you can't really see the contour or the outline of the animal. So they've all got them. It's part of the identifying features of the kuru, and it's easy to spot. Now, it gets confusing when you start looking at kuru, nyala, and bushbuck, because they've got very similar ones. So the kuru have got the ones on the side, the nyala also have got these beautiful markings on the side, and then the bushbuck have got, instead of the same markings, they've got little round spots on the side. I think these kuru have left us, so I'm going to carry on in my search for elephants. I think I might even try and go all the way to Buffelshoek Dam, see who's lurking around there. Maybe we'll get lucky with some of them around, but in the meantime, I think Scott has gotten very lucky with the predator sightings for the afternoon, so let's go over to him.
Well, you've joined at a good time. The lioness and her partner have just got up and moving. They're moving quite intently. I still can't see exactly what it is. I think it's some zebra that they're heading towards, but wonderful, wonderful prospects. Interestingly, they lay down and kind of lost interest completely until about 20 seconds ago, until we rushed you back onto the vehicle with us. She's looking back at her partner. Let's just move a little bit up ahead and see. Look at that, she's running ahead, and very, very interesting. I've seldom seen behavior like this actually from lion. To see them running so excitedly towards some possible prey is not always the case. Now let's try and work out what it is she's looking at. She's looking off to the left there. Let's see if we can see anything there. Now, at first glance, there doesn't appear to be anything in the immediate vicinity, but this lady and her partner, here's the partner, are certainly aware of something that we aren't, and I'm excited to find out what it is with you guys. Whoop, just driven over a bit of a termite mound there. Whoops. Like I said, this is really interesting behavior. You seldom see adult lions running towards possible prey items like this. So good prospects. I'm not sure when their last meal was. To be honest, I haven't had the closest look at their belly yet. I mean, they don't look starving, but it does appear like a meal is in order. What have you spotted there, Manu? Ah, that explains it. That explains exactly what's going on. Manu spotted some other lions, so they are not running towards prey, they're running towards the rest of their pride, who they're obviously excited to see. I'm guessing it could be another 2 lioness and the rest of the cubs. There were 13 cubs in total last time I checked. And let's just show you guys the lions that they're heading towards now. And it looks like the others are coming to greet them, so we are in for some beautiful, beautiful scenes as these lions reunite. And then who knows, maybe they'll head off in search of some food once they've joined forces with a few more pride members. Let's have a close look at the pride members on the right, Manu, and just see who's in that bunch. I've seen mainly cubs, a little bit to the left. There's one there, so that's one lioness off to the right. I've seen another one, I think, off to the left of her, and some more cubs. There we go. Wonderful stuff. So it is the Angama pride, that is for certain, and it looks like everyone is very, very happy to see one another again. They probably haven't been apart for too long, but they are incredibly affectionate creatures, and even after a short time apart, to see these kinds of very warm welcomes are not uncommon. Well, Mr. P, thanks for sending through your comments. You've mentioned how beautiful these scenes are with the lions' colorations blending in to the golden grass, and I couldn't agree more. I've thoroughly missed these kinds of scenes, and again, it is just wonderful to be back on safari with you guys. I couldn't have wished for a better welcome back to the Mara than finding these lions, watching them find one another. And the prospects of later on are certainly very good, because now that I have taken a closer look at their bellies, they don't seem hugely well fed, so there is a strong chance that they could decide to go and look for some food a little bit later on. Wonderful. Hello to Talon, good to have you with us. You'd like to know if lions will react to catnip in a euphoric way as domestic cats would, and I am told they do. I've never tried that stunt. It would be very naughty for us to do that. So I've never tried that stunt in the bush, but I am told that big cats and most large cats, or most cat species, will react to catnip. Wouldn't that be a sight, an interesting sight to behold? And imagine a big male lion rolling around in some catnip. Having said that, though, we do see some fairly similar behavior with lions rolling around, sometimes in elephant dung. I wouldn't say it's totally euphoric, but they're getting some kind of joy from it, it appears. So, what is going to happen next? Are they going to kind of calm down and huddle up now that they've reunited? Or are they going to get active? Now, it appears that this is the larger sets of cubs. Basically, as far as I can remember correctly, it's about 6 or 7 slightly larger cubs that are probably around 6 months of age now, roughly. And another, what must it be, another 7 smaller cubs. Maybe I've got it the wrong way around, but there's basically 2 different age batches, both born at slightly different months apart, a few months apart, but definitely a notable size difference. And the smaller cubs have been left behind us, and these are the larger ones. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. Hi Rhonda, you'd like to know if the lion's vision is any better during the day or in the night, and I think it's probably kind of fairly equal throughout. The thing is with their eyes' design is that they forego color vision for having good night vision, but that means they can probably see not equidistantly during the day and the night. They can probably see a little bit better during the day, but they certainly can see very, very well at night. It's just both day and night. They will not be seeing in color. They'll be seeing in probably 2 shades, whether it's black and white or who knows, grey and white, green and white. I'm not too certain. But yes, I think it's definitely fair to say their vision will be much better during the day than the night, but compared to their prey, their eyesight is better at night. So they do have a definite advantage in the cover of the darkness. Their prey's eyes is kind of more similar to ours in that they get a bit more color vision, and that way they can see better during the day, better chances of them spotting their prey during the day, but then they forego the opportunity to spot them as well at night. Seeing as though things have calmed down here, I think we're going to get us a little bit closer to get you some better views, and while we do so, we are going to send you back to James.
Hello again. Here I find myself on a little viewpoint, my earpiece malfunctioning yet again, but I'm going to try and fix it while I talk to you. There we've got some elephants, beyond them some topi and zebra, and no wildebeest whatsoever anywhere in sight. So we're going to investigate what's going on around here, but beautiful, beautiful views there, and of an area that until very recently was completely covered, and now is completely devoid of the Connotrates gnu, or the white-bearded gnu. I think that's what it's called in this area. Let me put this back in my ear, see if it's working now. Monica, interesting question there. You say, why do elephants have internal testes? Well, I think there are probably a number of reasons for that. The first, one of the reasons that some mammals have external testes, or most of us have external testes, is that they are very sensitive to heat, and so you've got to be very careful or sperm is very sensitive to heat, so you've got to be quite careful about overheating it too much. And of course, down in the nether regions of most animals, well, you know that there's quite a lot of heat produced. You know there's heat produced where limbs come together, and the armpits, etc., and obviously between legs, and so too much heat there will have the effect of killing off the sperm. So that's one of the reasons that certainly, I know this might be slightly graphic for people, but you know, it's a biological discussion. It's one of the reasons that testes, when it's hot, will droop down, and then when it's cold will come closer to the body to receive heat. So there's probably got quite a lot to do with temperature regulation there. Secondly, you'll probably find on an elephant that they are obviously not small given the size of the elephant, and an elephant's back end is pretty close to the ground, and so as well as being useful for temperature regulation, you will probably find that there's an element of protection involved with an elephant, because obviously they have a very large testes, and therefore they would probably, well, not to put too fine a point on it, be scuffed about on the grass if they were just below. Now let's look at a few other animals, like a lion, for example. They don't have particularly large testes, but they, interestingly, you see how they stick out the back. In fact, all cats, they have them sticking out the back in much the same way the dogs do, and they are not between the back legs so much as behind them, and I think that's also got quite a lot to do with temperature regulation. The other thing you'll find, and of course, I'm just trying to think, are rhino the same? Yeah, rhino are the same. They've also got internal testes. You find the bigger an animal is, of course, the more difficult it is for it to lose heat, but also it gains heat much less quickly. And so you might find that having them protected inside doesn't have the same overheating effect as it might on a smaller animal. So I think it's probably got largely to do with temperature regulation. I'm guessing entirely on that. I've lost sound completely, I'm afraid, again. What am I doing? We're carrying on? You didn't get anything either. Oh, that's not good news. Let's just have a quick communications test, if you wouldn't mind. There we go. Yeah? Right. Okay, right. Okay, good. Got all of that. So sorry about my communications. I'll try and fix them. I haven't read any of that I've said to you there. I'm purely thinking in terms of the other bits and pieces I know about biology. So anybody who's got any other interesting information for why rhino and elephants should have their testes internally, well, you let us know. For the moment, we're now going to head back across to Ali in South Africa. She is sitting apparently with a bit of literature.
Some literature indeed. We have found some cocky francolin, which are not that common to see, and now I've actually lost them in the grass. But they were here, I promise you. I'm not just seeing things now. I think maybe Senzo got it. Ooh. I feel like this is almost what Shadow did to Tristan this morning, because they were here about one... there it is. There it is at the back, I think. Oh my god. Where did you go? There's the other one. You see a bit more in the open, so I'm gonna go slightly forward. I think actually this might be the best place because it's just having a bit of a sand bath now. Hello, we can already see part of your feathers and your head moving around. Hiding, are we? Two of them. Yes, there we go. So these beautiful tiny little creatures, these are the cocky francolins. Very hard to spot around in this area. We don't see them all that often, so it's always quite a special sighting to see them around. We tend to see more of the crested francolins around. Hello, beautiful. Look at that pretty face. It's almost like they're wearing a mask for a gala or something. And as you can tell, very hard to spot because they nearly, or at least for us humans, because they are pretty much the same color of the grass and they're quite small creatures, so it's not always super easy to spot them. And all those lines and all those colors just allow them to, like we were saying with the kudu earlier, to break down the general body shape, that pattern, and then they become pretty much invisible to all of us. And as a matter of fact, it took us a little while to try and get through to them and find them again after they were gone. Hello! Very pretty little birds. Right, it seems like the wind has started howling again. Rigi, you say it's a new bird for you. Well, that's a very cool new bird to have. It's this one over here, the cocky francolin that we were looking at. Let me try and put the book straight. So I have a problem with straight lines apparently. So this one over here, and then the male over there. Beautiful little thing. So we were looking at a female now that was posing beautifully, and I didn't get a look at the other one, but I suspect it was a female as well, unless I saw twice the same bird and didn't quite realize it. Now, we're gonna head on to the biggest dam of them all and see what's there. Heather, you're wondering if they nest on the ground. They do, just like all of the Swainson's francolin and crested francolin that we have in this area. They all nest on the ground, so they try to hide their little eggs as well as they can. And it would be very nice to find actually a nest for a tiny one of them. I would love to do that. Now, I think I can hear the radio a little bit better, and I apologize. I just want to get an update of what's on Chitwa, because somebody was trying to get a hold of me earlier on, but usually with the radios is a bit complicated. So I'm gonna try and find out and hopefully find a very higher spot around where I can chat to the guys on the radio, find out what's been around there. But in the meantime, let's go over to Scott, who seems to have found all the pretty little things. Or actually, I should say probably not pretty or little, but fluffy.
So for now, as you can see, these lion have decided to bunker down. Some on the left are actually suckling. So that's quite interesting. They will be slowly coming to the end of this period of their life. They'll be getting weaned off in the next couple of months. So a lucky little treat, you could say, for them. And you can see how they're having to work her stomach and mammaries quite hard with their paws in order to actually get some of that tasty and nutritious milk. Well, I guess it's tasty for them. I'm not sure how tasty it would be for us. And aren't these little cubs just adorable? These lioness rather, have done very well in keeping them all alive up till date. They've done an incredible job, especially considering how many hyena are in the area, considering the fact that hundreds and thousands of trampling hooves of wildebeest have moved through this area. They have done an incredibly good job. Like I say, there's also a lot of other lion in the area. And I think one of the keys to this pride's success in raising all 13 cubs up to till now is that they've stayed in a very, very small area. It's probably the smallest area that I've ever seen lions stay within. It's almost probably a square mile where we almost always find them. And that for a lion's territory is very, very small. It's definitely made our lives very pleasant because it's made finding them very easy. But again, we must pay dues to some very good mothering skills from this lady and her 3 other pride members. Hopefully their luck will continue, and skill. I guess it's a combination of 2 things getting all these cubs to adulthood, because if they do, this pride could grow into a very large pride, which would be wonderful to have right on our doorstep. It's been quite interesting. We haven't had the largest prides in the Mara. There's been a huge amount of lions, but not the biggest prides. And another thing that's interesting, and we have discussed a lot, but for any of the new safari goers, the lion dynamics within the Masai Mara are quite unique in that the prides of lioness are not following the kind of general rules, at least not in our time spent here, not in our discussions with researchers. And the main thing that is happening is that lioness or young lioness who grow up into their natal pride would ordinarily stay with that pride. It's uncommon for ladies to move off. It's very common for the men to. That's almost standard procedure. But for the ladies, so this young boy, he'll be moving off in about 1.5 to 2 years. But his sisters should stay with the pride, but they haven't been doing that within the Mara. So very, very interesting. I'm not too sure why. Hi Heather, you'd like to know how soon it will be until these cubs start eating meat. And they would have been eating meat from about 3 months of age. So they've been eating meat for quite some time now. And we've actually been lucky enough to see them barrel into some fresh kills that they've heard their mothers make. And they come running in from quite a distance, very, very excited to feed on the meat. And also what's very interesting is that sometimes the lioness actually let their cubs gorge themselves more so than themselves. I must be careful here because it is very important, and nature usually looks after the adults first, or they tend to make sure that they are sufficiently fed, but they certainly haven't been gorging themselves, and they've been allowing their cubs to do that. Maybe they prefer their cubs to fill up on meat as opposed to milk if they have a bounty of prey like they have had in the last few months. Life has been very easy for them, so good timing for them to be raising so many youngsters, to coordinate that through default, no doubt. It wasn't a planned method to have all these cubs as the migration passes through, but it certainly would have helped their plight and helped keep these cubs fit and strong and growing quickly. Interesting question through from Paula. You would like to know if young cubs would ever nurse just for comfort feeding as opposed to the necessity to require their next meal. And I don't know. I don't know what to say to that, Heather. My initial thoughts would be no, but I mean, I've got no idea. It's very difficult for us to gauge exactly how hungry the animals are when they're feeding, and therefore it would be quite a guess, I think, for us to work out if it was comfort feeding or not. What I can tell you, though, what I do know for a fact, is that they will often try and feed, and their mothers will disallow them. And that kind of tells me that they may be wanting to comfort feed, so to speak, but their mothers are only allowing them to feed as and when they actually really need to. Perhaps. It'll be a tricky question to get to the bottom of. You may have seen the other vehicle drive off there, so we are now left alone with this pride of lion as the other tourists head off in search of other things, and it's something, again, for the new Safari Live goers to understand and to realize. It's one of the perks of what we do and what all of you guys are involved in, because we have the joy of being able to invest time with animals, because we can ping you across to other vehicles to make sure you don't get bored in one spot. But real live safari goers do not have that joy and benefit. Their guides need to rush them around and show them as much of the interesting sights, scenes, and animals as they can during what would ordinarily be a 3 or 4 night stay. That's your average stay in any one place on safari. Sometimes 2. So kind of the lower end of the spectrum would be 2 nights. Your usual time at one spot would be 3 and sometimes 4. And ordinarily what people would do is they would join a few different locations during what could be maybe a 10-day or a 2-week safari, go to 3 or 4 different spots. And Kenya certainly is a wonderful country to explore. It's got a very diverse set of wilderness areas, also allowing you not only to see the same species in different areas, but quite a few different species dotted across the various parts of Kenya. I found it more kind of diverse than South Africa. Having said that, though, that's probably not the case. They've probably just got more national parks in different areas, where down south in South Africa, it's maybe not so much the case. Both destinations, though, you can easily do a 2-week safari and keep yourself entertained by different sights and scenes. So that is something to bear in mind if you guys are ever planning to come out on safari. And of course, we would urge every single one of you, if possible, to come out and support all these lodges and all these national parks. But in the meantime, we are very, very happy to have you joining us virtually all around the world. It's a beautiful, beautiful evening, and again, we've got hugely lucky that this rain has subsided, because it was definitely looking quite gloomy earlier. If any of you have just joined me, earlier we had the flaps down. We were seeking shelter from the rain. But for now, like I say, it's cleared up beautifully. The winds died down. I could hear some guinea fowl calling off in the distance, some zebra too. So it's a beautiful, beautiful evening, and I wonder what the weather's like down in Djuma. Actually, not too sure. Like James said earlier, we're having some trouble with our earpieces, both of us. So we're battling to hear all of the updates that Chantal is giving us. And I'm sure the Sabi Sands is this is probably one of my favorite times of the year to actually be down there. So you guys can count yourselves lucky to be being taken around by Ali at this time of the year. Interestingly, it sounds like she's also having some issues with her comms. What's interesting with these live safaris, and something that's always boggled my mind, is that you'll have everything working perfectly without a problem, and then all of a sudden the gremlins, the so-called gremlins, come in and tweak things, and something stops working, and we jiggle a few wires, and then it starts working again. But it is certainly not a perfect science, these live safaris. There's a lot of cables and connections and wires that are all worked around this vehicle to send you these pictures live in real time and HD, which still boggles my little brain that the guys in our tech team have managed to pull off all these stunts, because I think it's certainly quite an achievement. Very good. I'm just making sure the other cubs weren't deciding to come and join us from behind, but that would be unlikely. They're quite small, and I'm sure they will remain bunkered down where their parents left them, as good cubs should, and clever cubs should, because if they're to start wandering around, they would get themselves into trouble in no time. Well, we certainly are not going to be leaving these lions anytime soon, but you're going to be heading off to James's vehicle to get an update on how his afternoon is unpanning. Unpanning? Panning out.
We are looking around here, everyone, for the sausage tree pride. This is a laga in which they like to hang around, apparently, just to our left-hand side here. I don't see any kind of leonine body or any sort of scent of lion in this area. Anyway, well, that's what the plan was. Other than that, there's really not a huge amount going up or going on here up on the escarpment. The wind is blowing in from the southeast, but we seem to be having some bright weather from that side, so that's very good. So let's keep driving, and let's see if we can't pick up something as we go down through here. It's all very new and fresh, you see, once you come back from your holidays. And Janet, you're wondering about differences that I've noticed in the Mara since my return. Not a huge amount. I suppose there are some areas of the Northern Triangle that are greener than they were when I left, and that's to be expected because of the rain. Animal-wise, it looks pretty much the same, and I suspect it's going to be the same. The big thing, the big mystery to me at the moment is not that the wildebeest have gone off to the east and to the south, because they'll just follow the rain, and I suspect that there are some things that make them move that we really don't understand. So I don't think it's just the rain. The big mystery to me is why, at this stage of the game, we haven't yet had a sort of arrival of large numbers of Thompson's gazelles. Just before this time last year, we were watching them trying to cross the rivers. Fascinating stuff, watching the crocodiles swimming like speedboats across the water to get them. And yeah, I don't know where they've gone this year or why there aren't any around. We've got a secretary bird up ahead in its nest, which is quite fun. Let's go and have a look there. It's just up ahead here. I know you saw one earlier with Scott. I don't know if it was in a nest or not, but as it gets darker, you'll find the secretary birds leave the ground and go and see if they can sit up in their nests and get away from, I don't know, I think it must be predators that they're trying to get away from. They don't always have nests. I think sometimes they just perch in these balanites trees, normally as a couple. Perhaps there's been a little sort of domestic spat between this one and its wife or husband. I can't tell which is which. Or perhaps he or she are just alone. Now, I believe very mysteriously that Ali has got a bird in a tree with something dead, and well, it's so mysterious because no one knows what that bird is.
We do. We've got a bit of a mystery bird, and I'm not too sure what it's busy eating. We thought it might have been a hare, but now I don't know if it actually looks more like a... No, the paws look like hair-like to me, so I'm gonna go with scrub hair. Unfortunately, somebody met its end at those very fierce talons of this particular eagle that we've got around here. So we have narrowed it down to eagle. Now the debate starts, because some of the other guides here were saying that they believe that this is an African harrier hawk, or sorry, an African hawk eagle. But I'm not too sure if perhaps we're actually looking at a Wahlberg's eagle. So why don't you guys send us through your comments as to what we think this particular mystery bird, using the hashtag #SafariLive. It'll be quite interesting, because whoever it is, it's in that funny stage of birds where they're still immature, getting their full colors, their full adult colors, and it makes it complicated to try and actually find out what they are. So, I'm inclined to say Wahlberg's eagle just by looking at the beak and just by looking at the book, but who knows, maybe somebody else has a bit of more information, more photographs of these youngsters. Now, it's been perching on this tree, holding on to its gill, looking very regal at everything around here, and I think it's probably been a bad day for tiny little creatures that have been lurking around because the eagles are back and they're happy. And look how it's holding on. You can see those talons very, very clearly. It's actually quite a stunning view of this particular eagle, whatever it is that you want to be. You look very... I wouldn't mess with you and those talons, I can tell you that much. And there was a squirrel that was alarming earlier on, going crazy looking at this particular eagle around here. And now it started looking in all directions, so I wonder if it's actually not going to try and move. I think we might... This is a bit of a mystery. Now I wonder what Tristan's gonna say. I'm gonna put my money on Pale Morph Wahlberg's eagle. Likely, knowing my luck with birds, I'll be wrong, but I have looked at the book and that's what I think it is. Because birds always have a way of confusing me. Because obviously the minute you start looking at them, everything starts going around. Kate, you say that at least it's got beautiful colors. I agree with you, it's quite stunning. It's in that funny phase where it's got all the, well, not all the colors, I don't think I can say that, but it's looking very funny. Very beautiful. And it's so nice that there's such a nice drop in the background. All we need is for it to turn its head again. Hello. And then we'll be able to start seeing it again. Yeah, African hawk eagle, I don't know. I feel like an African hawk eagle might have more spots on its chest. But this one has got a few, so it could definitely be. Now, if you wanted to go ahead and fly, that might make it a little bit easier for us. I think maybe I'm just asking for too much. He's being a bit shy, watching its back. Being shy, looking away. Sorry, Megan, can you repeat that comment? Popo and Alexander, you both say that it's probably a hawk eagle. I think that's... Oh, it's a tough call, but it does look like a hawk eagle, but I would expect a hawk eagle to have a lot more black on top of its head. That's why I'm getting a bit confused. So, maybe it's still getting it and it's just confusing me for the time being. But there's another reason why I would like to call it a hawk eagle. It's just because of all the spots in its chest. All of those tiny little arrows that we see there that are very characteristic of the hawk eagle. So we'll see. It's the beak, to be honest, that is confusing me because it looks very Wahlbergy to me. It would be so much easier if they could just speak to us and let us know what they are. Now, if we have a look at the book just in the meantime while it doesn't fly away, and you please, eagle, stay there until we decide what you are. Now, if we look all the way here, this is what the hawk eagles look like in the book. Now, this one over here. So you see it's got a lot more dark in its head, but it's still black and white. And then so it would morph from this to this. So it could be that it's still getting all of its colors. And then if we see around here, then this is the way it should look. So there should be a lot more spots around on its chest. So this is another thing that's turning out to be a bit puzzling. I don't know if maybe it's changing from one color to the other, or perhaps it is starting to get into this, which is very, very possible. And it's about, in theory, to be 60 to 68 centimeters according to the book. Now, I think 60 is about pushing it. Now, the Wahlberg's eagle, this one over here, the pale morph, also, it's got more white on top of its, more white all around its chest, and then just a little bit of black on the top here. Very beautiful white legs. Oh, that was probably the feature to look at. Then over here, sorry, he just twisted around, so I wanted to have a look. Also has got some little spots all around its chest. So, I think it makes it quite interesting to try and figure out who this is. Now, let's go back. Very interesting. Heather, you're wondering what the difference between hawks and eagles is. Well, it's they're all bird of prey, so they're all characterized by their talons, but I would imagine that genetically, the camera wanted to go away, and so did the bird. No, come back. So it's a difference of mainly size and areas where they where they live, I would suppose. Now this one has abandoned us and it took the kill with it, so hopefully we'll rely on some nice screenshots to try and figure out who it is. Tristan from FC wants to throw a wheel in the spanner, and now he thinks it's something else. Alright, let me find it in the book for you. He says it's a juvenile booted eagle. Now, we're all just throwing names in there, I think. This is turning out to be very confusing. But Tristan knows more birders than what I do, so hopefully he'll be able to. Booted eagle. I don't know, Tristan. I don't know. I don't fully agree with the booted eagle mystery, because there's obviously clearly a pale morph. Now we're going into the very, very rare creatures, but there's a bit of brown around this area, around the neck, so I don't know if this one has enough brown. I didn't see any brown on its head or on its neck when it was around here, so could be. I don't know. I'm more tempted to stick around with our options just because of the colors that we saw, because there was definitely none of this. But I suppose we're gonna have to leave this beautiful one just because it flew away, and we'll keep it as a mystery for later on to go and double check all of our bird books and see what offers the best the best view. But while we do that, I think that James has got also some white and black creatures that are also playing around.
Now, we have a very exciting thing going on here. We've got a bit of a zebra fight. And I'll tell you that the zebra fight was set off, I'm afraid, by the presence of a domestic dog that has since skedaddled. We're quite close to the boundary, of course, and this thing does happen, or that sort of thing does happen from time to time. But it got the zebras really upset with each other, and they have been kicking the stuffing out of each other. One of them took a horrible thwack to the jaw from a full-blooded sort of two-footed kick. I mean, it looks now they are chasing that topi and each other. Yeah, look at that. Vicious creature. I mean, the topi's barely out of second gear. But they are very, very nasty, and the dog just set them off. Fascinating stuff. Initially, oh, I think I spotted a lion. Initially, I thought that was a, what is it? No, it's an eland. Initially, I thought it was a jackal den that they'd come across, the zebras, but it wasn't. Anyway, let's just keep watching this little situation unfolding. It's quite amazing. This really is quite astonishing stuff. And I still think that some of the zebra we're seeing here are part of the migratory herds. There are huge numbers still around. I think that some of them are going to head south eventually as well and follow those wildebeest. And of course the Thompson's gazelles that have not bothered to arrive. Anyway, look at them. There could be young males there at the front. In fact, most likely young males. Now, their teeth are, of course, extremely potent, and potent is probably a strong term, but they're certainly got very powerful jaws, and their teeth are very, very important weapons that they use. You see that vicious kick? I saw one of them take a full-blooded kick. Look at that. I promise you, if one of those connected with you, you wouldn't get up again. And there are two more having a vicious biting match. Something has really got them irritated.